There are really two main reasons why avoidance will pull away in relationships. And if you're the person they're pulling away from, it can be frustrating, confusing, and downright anxiety creating because you're getting little to no answers from this person, yet they're distant, they're cold, and it seems to have come out of nowhere. The first main reason is that something triggered their fears. They have very specific fears. Fears of engulfment, which is the fear of losing themselves, losing their independence in a relationship. Fear of rejection, and the fear of abandonment. The fear of abandonment is actually at the core of this, but it lies in the subconscious. The avoidant is often completely unaware of this fear. But these fears all go back to childhood when this person was emotionally neglected by their parents or their caretakers. They weren't given the emotional nurturing and the love that they needed. So they grew up to feel like there was something wrong with them, like they were unlovable. They also learned that if you rely on anybody for your emotional needs, you're going to get rejected, you're going to get abandoned. On top of that, when they expressed themselves as children, if they had any kind of negative emotion, it was outright rejected, possibly even reprimanded. The message was sent, your feelings aren't welcome here. So they learned that expressing their own wants and needs equals rejection. So they learned to bottle that up. So fast forward to an adult relationship. Something has triggered those fears. It could be emotional intimacy has been building. Closeness, the relationship is going well. And the fact that it's going well and that the two partners are getting closer together and emotional closeness is getting great, that will trigger their fears. A good, healthy relationship is very frightening to an avoidant. Or it could be that a want or need of theirs is not being addressed, it's not being met. The problem is they rarely effectively communicate that to their partner because they've learned to associate communication about their feelings, their wants, with rejection. And this can leave their partner bewildered because there's no explanation as to why this person's pulling away. They're just getting distant, they're not communicating much, and the affection has essentially disappeared from the relationship. They can become harder to make plans with. They just become more cold, distance, and even physical intimacy can come to a grinding halt. But every time you ask the avoidant, what's going on? Is everything okay? They'll tell you, everything's fine, everything's great. And you're left with no answers and you're just scratching your head wondering what happened, and you're probably even blaming yourself. The other main reason why avoidants will pull away is to self-soothe. They were never shown how to process emotions as a kid. They were never shown how to talk about emotions as a kid. So what they learned is to run from their emotions, to avoid them, to stick their head in the sand like an ostrich, to avoid dealing with problems in general and avoid dealing with emotional and relationship stress. So when they're pulling away, they are soothing themselves by creating emotional distance between themselves and their partner, which helps them feel safe because emotional closeness is scary. And they're also avoiding the problem, which is how they've learned to regulate their own anxiety. Ultimately, when the avoidant is pulling away, they are wrapped up in their own fears, their own anxiety. They're not considering how this actually impacts their partner. They're not considering the feelings of their partner at all because they're so insecure that they're only really focusing on themselves and what they perceive that they want, need, or feel in the moment. But if you are a loving, healthy partner and the avoidant is pulling away or even ended the relationship with really no explanation when everything seemed like it was going great, it is not a reflection of you or anything that you did wrong. It's a reflection of the unhealed attachment wounds of this person. It's a reflection of the avoidant's insecurities. It's a reflection of their inability and unwillingness to communicate in a healthy way. It's also a reflection of their own avoiding of problems, and as well as their character, because these behaviors are a choice. They are fully grown adults. They could choose to work on themselves, self-reflect, take accountability, and learn to heal these problems. So don't blame yourself, because when you're blaming yourself, if you were a very healthy, loving partner to them, you're only pushing yourself further into anxiety. You're pushing yourself further into pain, because self-blame is a way to get stuck, where you're not healing, you're not moving on, you're just ruminating endlessly. Focus on understanding why this person behaves the way they do, and as hard as it is, don't personalize it, because personalizing it keeps you stuck and you're taking ownership of behavior that isn't yours. You're trying to control the uncontrollable, which again pushes you further into anxiousness and anxious attachment in general.